More than 300 forensic auditors have been deployed by the Unemployment Insurance Fund to companies who have benefited from the Covid-19 Temporary Employer-Employee Relief Scheme. TERS, as it's also known, was aimed at assisting companies to weather the pandemic storm. Now, just last month, 16 suspects were arrested for allegedly swindling the money out of the fund. Now, let's speak to Unemployment Insurance Fund Commissioner Teboho Maruping. Dr. Maruping, thank you so much for your time this evening. Let's talk about these auditors. When they go to these companies, what are they looking for?
Thanks, Bongiwe, for this opportunity. We're looking for simple things from these companies. First, we want the companies to confirm to us that the money they've applied for, has it been paid to the employees and was it paid on time? And when you get to these companies, we are saying just have your 3 months payroll available that you had before you applied for COVID, and the payroll that you used to pay for these employees, reconciled bank accounts, and also we want to have the account details of the employees so that we can recon straight to the account of the employees who was paid.
And how many companies that have you enlisted to be able to assist you with this work?
For this round, we've enlisted 7 companies in total with over 360 auditors available.
And, you know, one of the things that was very concerning during the pandemic, especially at the height of it, was that some of these companies were receiving the money and employees were not able to then be, receive money for one reason or another. And in other instances, we saw, some of the employees claiming that, the UIF was defrauded in this regard. Are you still getting some of those calls from some of these employees who are concerned?
Actually, we are still getting a number of these calls. The problem still continues. Where we find companies, they were paid money, it was not paid to employees. In some instances, companies have even used these funds for different things. Some have acquired assets like cars, properties, and some have even spent the money on paying their own day-to-day running of the business and not paid the money for the workers. So we are still picking them up and we are still taking them to task through the Hawks, NPA, the Fusion Center, and SIU. So we're working very well with the law enforcement agencies.
Are they opening their book and their premises very, very easily now that the work has started?
Actually, I must confess, there are companies we have honest corporate South African citizens. When you come to their premises, they have their books ready, they have their accountants and HR people ready for us. They lay down the table, they give us all the evidence that we require to do the audits. And those companies, will be talking about them in the next few weeks. We'll be communicating about these good corporate companies. But then again, there are those companies, when you get their doors, the gates are locked. You even phone them, they say, no, waiting for you, but you get to the doors, gates are locked, there's no one to speak to. In some companies, you could even find that there is no, even the address that they give to you, you cannot even find where these companies are based. So some of them have even destroyed the properties. It's just not quite clear what these companies were doing during COVID.
What happens then in that regard? Do the auditors simply give up and leave, or do you call law enforcement authorities to be able to come in there as well?
Oh yes, if we come to your premises and you are not opening, we give you a week. If in that week there's no feedback coming from you, we get the law enforcement agencies immediately involved. And I must say the law enforcement agencies have been quite helpful and speedy in how they do the work, to an extent that if we pick up any of these companies, we freeze your accounts through the fusion centers. We'll freeze your personal account, we'll freeze your business account, and we also attach all your assets that are linked to you. And if it needs to be, some of these individuals will be blacklisted, such that we are not able to do business with the state or business in the country whatsoever.
Does then that mean that these employees who would have not received this money have, unfortunately already forfeited it, or will there be plans that are made for them to then get a portion of some of what may be recovered?
Some of these employees were able to pay them in subsequent iteration, because if you recall, we had many iterations of of COVID. The president kept extending the COVID attention depending on what was happening in the country at that time. So when we shifted our payment system to paying directly to employees, we were able to pay to these employees. But you know, one of the strangest things we discovered with South Africans, there are South Africans who voluntarily participated in the fraudulent activities where they gave out their ID numbers, they gave up their addresses. And when you find that these South Africans never worked whatsoever for this company,
sure.
And we caught them at the point where they were applying for SASSA benefit or for some of the government offerings that we were applying for, and we nabbed them at that point.
Very briefly, we're almost out of time. That is very worrying, but there's another worrying matter that I saw in one of the reports, and I wonder if you're able to confirm it for us, that some of the officials that are carrying out this work are finding themselves with threats to their lives?
Oh, yes, that's true. One of our employees who are directly involved in this project, they received threats and were advised by, again, a law enforcement agency. These threats were sent to the law enforcement agencies and they advised us that, colleagues, these are the threats coming through. And we assisted also by them to bring protection to this individual to make sure that this individual is safe. And so far, nothing has happened at this stage. But we are not letting down our guard because we're not too sure if these people will ever hit at us or not.
All right, let's speak again then and see how this process unfolds, and at the end of it, what you are then able to uncover, because really this is worrying, especially when you look at some of the arrests that have been made, you know, when it comes to these people accused of swindling money out of this particular system. But let's leave it there for now. Thank you so much for your time. Do appreciate it. That is the UIF's Commissioner Teboho Maruping, and of course, worrying developments on that front. We'll continue to keep tabs on the story and bring you more.